Hello, everybody, and welcome. Let me check, because this is kind of a spontaneous session. Let's see. Welcome, everybody, to the program. I need to check on YouTube if this actually works out. Yes, it does. Great. Okay, we're back. It's been a little while. It's been a hot minute since we got live for Samui Wallet's hacking for Solana Cypherpunk Hackathon. But I'm super glad I'm back. The intention was always to do this. Go back. I've been doing my live streams as well. Here we are, hacking session, live coding again. It's almost 5 p.m. in the afternoon where I'm at. I got a new setup. I'm in a new Airbnb and no co-working this time. Let me just figure out if all seems well, and it does seem great. Okay, cool. I posted on X. I added links to my YouTube and to my Twitch for everybody that wants to check these things out. And then I'm gonna try and not distract myself and just try to do some hacking. I'm gonna leave it here. And so it's been a while that we've been doing this live show, and we haven't sat still in the meanwhile. So we've done a bunch of cleaning up of technical debt. I share these things in my daily, but from an architecture point of view, we switched from PNPM to BUM, which is a package manager and runtime. We switched from ESLint and Prettier to Biome, which is a Rust-powered formatter and linter, which is incredibly fast. And we did a bunch of other cleanup in the app, and we can kind of browse through the app. This is what it looks like today. So the onboarding that we've all seen is here. So this is still fairly similar. Have a wallet or generate a wallet. And then if we go back to the portfolio, this is where you would land. Now, this is still pretty much the same. There's still some stuff here to do when it comes to responsiveness. Let me actually quickly, for curiosity's sake, check what this is about. I think this should have a padding of like 4. Yeah, there you go. So we need to add a little bit of padding here. 2 might be actually good. This is all of these little things that needs to be done that we didn't get through. So we have a tool section which is already been there. There's been some more UI consistency, so things like don't flip around as much. But here you can see like these two, the item here on top versus the item here on top. They have different paddings. They have different sizes. So this is all kind of like consistency things that need to be changed down the line. Nothing big. Now, what I want to do today, so also, by the way, I added this Explorer in here. So when I actually take a public key and I search for this, you'll see a basic Explorer. Now, here's already something that we need to fix. So this needs to be aligned. It wants to sit right here. It shouldn't break off. It probably wants to be a bit smaller. It may be because I'm zoomed in. Yeah, so as you see, lots of stuff to do. Now, as you all know, it's open source. So if you feel inclined to fix any of these issues, if you're like, oh yeah, I want to do some of these UI tweaks, I want to improve responsiveness, feel free to hop on to our Discord or comment on any of the issues. We do really appreciate people that jump in and communicate with us to figure out like what you're building is actually what we want to see. This saves us a bunch of time so that you don't have to like spend a ton of time creating a pull request that ends up not being merged. So this Explorer is the one I want to focus on today, and I'm actually going to tackle the issue. So I'm going to look at the issue. I created this issue. We want to save the developer trips to the Explorer. So currently, if you're building on Solana and you like create a transaction, then you want to inspect it, you will have to go to the Explorer of choice and look at it there. So we figured, like, what if we can just add this in to the wallet? So this is basically what we set up here. The goal is a basic Explorer feature. Now I did some groundwork. So I scaffolded the packages, lazy loaded the routes, added bottom navigation. So this is what we see right here, right? So bottom navigation is here. We're at the route /explorer. As you can see, it's kind of small, but I can't zoom that part in. And then this is the Explorer index page, which is this one with a simple search box that accepts either an address or a signature. So address, we already seen that. It takes you here. But if we copy like a signature, so we take this signature, it actually lands you in this page. But in this page, there's not really something that loads the signature. So we can also search for this for the signature, search it right here, and you'll land there. So this may be a great signature to start with. What we want to do here actually is load in the signature. Now, luckily, we already have a bunch of this. So if we go to portfolio and we check activity here, and we check this one, we already have this thing. So let's use Alice as our test wallet for the Explorer. So we go here, search for Alice, and then we want to see their history. Now we want this to look way more like this. So it should be broken down in days, it should be grouped, and then the details page should be like this. So if we look back at my issue, you see here Explorer feature TX should be implemented from what's currently portfolio feature TX. Then ensure that the existing portfolio activity link to the new Explorer route, and it needs to link back. So what I mean with this is, if we're here in portfolio activity, this will stay the same. So just the activity for this wallet, for this account that you're looking at. But what happens if you click on one of these, you'll be actually redirected to the Explorer transaction, and then the button back here should take you back to where you came from. So we should have this button here be dynamic. But that's kind of a second thing. First, I want to rebuild this page so that both exist. If that's good and gets landed, we'll do the cleanup and do this. I might do it in 2 pull requests. I'm not sure yet. Okay, great. We're 9 minutes in, so let's actually start building stuff. So what I want to do here is take Alice's account, and then clicking on one of these transactions should fill in that page. So Explorer feature TX should implement what's currently in portfolio feature TX. So let's actually open up both. So Explorer feature TX and portfolio feature TX. And these things should behave the same. The Explorer feature PX is routed here, and we have a base path and we have a network. So we need to have both of these things in order to create this page. So we need network, so we can fetch a Solana client, so we can fetch the transaction from the selected network here, which is this one. And then we want to have the base path, which is /explorer. This is where the Explorer lives in this wallet, and we want to pass it along. And the reason that we want to do this is that in some future, we'll have the Explorer as a separate app. So once we get this thing working in a way that we want it to work, we will create a separate Explorer.samui.build, probably x.samui.build to keep it nice and short. And it will be at the root. So it will not live at /explorer. It will base path will be root. So this is where it will be then working like this, right? And but we're not there yet, but this is kind of a thing that I already want to prepare for. And in order to do this, I'm going to pass along these properties and just going to basically steal the signature from this one and add it back into the Explorer feature TX. So that's great. That's a great first step. And now when I'm looking at this account, I actually see what I'm doing here is I verify if the address is correct, and I give you a message if it's not. And then I make an assertion. So the TypeScript actually is in agreement that this is actually an address. So we're going to close the route page here, and we're going to go back into the Explorer signature page. And we're going to basically mimic it. So the base stuff is already there. So we already fetch the signature, and we validate if the signature is as it's supposed to be. So we're going to do here, assert this signature and pass in the signature. Now, this might seem a bit dumb, but the difference is here, as you can see, the type. If you can look at the type right up in the popover, you can see a type of signature. When I get rid of this line, you'll see that type's actually a string. So the reason I want to do that is so that I can assume that all of this is now a signature and that all of this works as expected. Great. So we have a page loaded. We know it's a signature. If not, you'll get this error message, and we can actually prove that by just invalidating the signature. Just going to wank off a bunch of characters. Now it's no longer a valid signature, and it will give this error. Good enough for now. So if we look at the portfolio, in this page, I kind of did a lot of things just fairly ad hoc. So this is a great opportunity now for us to clean up and to actually make it less ad hoc. Now, one of the things that I already noted when I was in the Explorer and I was looking at Alice here, there's no way to navigate back. So I think this is something that we can kind of improve on, where we basically want this page to route back. So you can just click back. You don't need to depend on this one. And the reason I think that's interesting is because for the portfolio activity in here, we do have that. And this allows us to get you back to the page where you were coming from. We might not need it, but for consistency, I do want to add it, and we can always remove it if we end up not needing it. So explore transaction, this is what we're going to work on today. And this no longer wants to be an empty page, but instead, I want to create the Explore feature TX here. So in here, what I'm actually seeing is kind of interesting. I didn't use a card here. And this is where I said I hard-coded this back to the page where I was coming from. So these are two things that I need to change, because if I land on this Explorer transaction coming from here, which is Alice's account overview or Alice's transactions, my back button here wants to go back to this place. And if I'm coming in from any other thing like the search page, it wants to go from search. Now, this all works as expected in React Router. It supports all of these things, but we will have to configure and work with it. So, Rishav, sir, good to see you here. GM. Always nice to see a contributor to the repo showing up at my stream. So Rishav is one of the people that started contributing, I think, last week. Super happy. We're glad to see all of the contributions coming in. So here we are with this thing. So let's actually start by creating a card, UI card. And I can give the title to the card where I'm just going to say transaction. And I'm just going to add some content here. It says foobar. And what I want to do is button back to. Now, what I could do is just go back to the Explorer. And then if we click transaction back, oh, we'll actually see that it doesn't. Yeah, so, OK, my bad. It should have been Explorer. And second, my bad. I just told you that we're passing in the base path. This is exactly the reason. So this now works as expected. So we can take this transaction, go there and return. Fine. However, this is not always the case. As I said, if we come in through Alice here and search and then go back, then we might not have it. Now, some of you might be like, yeah, but you have these back buttons and why are you changing it? Well, the thing is, this is not the only way how we interact with this app. So it will live as an extension in the sidebar or in the modal window, just like other extensions. And there you don't have these back buttons. So we will need to have this as part of the UI. For consistency, I think it only makes sense to have it in the web version as well. We may at some point decide, okay, we're going to get rid of them in the back version, in the web version because it's obsolete. But I think for now, we should just have these in-app navigation. We should not depend on this browser Chrome to exist. in all of the views where we have these things. So that's why we kind of go through the extra hassle of doing this. So what I need to pass around if I'm coming in from Alice is actually telling on this link right here where I'm coming from. And in order to do that, I'm going to go to the account. And I'm going to be going to the overview account transactions. And here is the TX link. So this is where I'm coming from. TX link. It needs to go to this. And then I'm fairly sure I can add other things into this link. So let's quickly figure out what this link actually allows me to do. So one of the things that we could do is add a query string. But I think this is what we're looking for, state. Adds persistent client-side routing state to the next location. So here's where we say state, and we can say from, and we can say where we're coming from. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best idea, but I know this is how it works. And because in these programs, we always do make it work, make it right, make it fast. That's what we aim for, at least. I'm going to make it work with a state property that's called from. And this from is going to be the account page. So in the case of Alice right here, and we can kind of drag this a bit wider just to get the full URL, the from should be address/Alice. Doesn't have Explorer because, as we know, this base path, it's a separate thing. So in this Explorer UI link, I actually want to say state. And the state is having a from. And that's a thing that we need to pass in. So state now, next to being a base path, it will need to pass in where it's coming from. I'm going to make these things all required. So they'll always be passed in. And now in the future account transactions, we can actually be fairly simple and say, okay, this is account slash, sorry, I need to make this an object with a template string. And we can say account slash address. That should be it. So we're in Explorer feature account transactions, so which is here. And when we pass along this line, along this link, we pass along now this from state. And I'm going to be using the console log debugger here, because when we arrive at this page, this should now know where we are. So we're going to go back to the account feature TX right here. And I'm going to say const location is use location, which comes from React Router. And then I'm fairly sure it's going to be from, let's say, from is location.state.from. And just for sake of clarity, I'm going to print it out in the UI. So JSON.stringify from. There we are. So the from state is set here, which means that we can now redirect back to the button. Now this makes it so that we can actually say const back button to, it's either from, or if you don't have it, just redirect me to the base path. If I can spell const right, then this is the one that we're going to be routing back to. So if I click back right now, this should lead to, doesn't, because I need to append the base path. So it should be base path plus this plus from. Use a template literal. I'm happy with that. So, okay, let's make it a bit different. Going to do ternary. So if we have from, it'll be base path. Otherwise, just be the base path. So now this should turn back to Alice. Click Alice. And if we go to Explorer and search for the transaction, There's no from, sure. There's no state, sure. Happy with that. And then we're going to go back here. So this is exactly what I wanted to do. We go for Alice, search, click, back to Alice. Beautiful. Okay, so we made this logic here where we figure out how do we get back to the right place so that we load the stuff, how, if, and when we need it. Beautiful. Second thing that I want to do here is load up, like we can get rid of this thing. So let's add some more debugging here, just for the sake of it, just so I can get rid of this old empty state, because this is not what we need. So I can even do something like text and make this ridiculously small, like let's say 8 pixels. Great. So now at least it kind of fits. Oh, I'm sorry, friends. Kind of fits on the page. So we know where we're from, we know where we're going. Also, what I see now directly is that this padding here on this card is way too large on the small viewports, but that's something else that we kind of need to fix along the way. In fact, yeah. Let's not bother with it right now. There's rabbit holes everywhere. And one of the things, if you want to be a good developer, and at least a productive developer, learn to figure out where are your rabbit holes, what has to focus and what has not. Right now, this is not focus. It's not part of the issue I'm fixing. It won't improve the workings of this thing. So I'm not going to spend time on this. Great. Now, this one can be closed because we don't need anything right here. So that's kind of a thing we don't need right now. And in here, we're going to actually load the transaction page. So let's take a quick look back at the Explorer portfolio feature TX. I'm sorry, here's where we say portfolio UI TX details. And we pass in the network, we pass in the signature, and we pass in the TX, which here is, okay, yeah, this is something I need to work on. This is the custom typed thing that I did. So in order to make this work within the hackathon time, I created this custom type called transaction data, where I basically copied a whole bunch of stuff from Git, and I pasted it in here just so that I could type this stuff, just so that I can put it in here. Now, query data here is not strongly typed. And the reason why this works in such a way is that this transaction, it has a bunch of overrides. So transaction, it has different encodings, for instance. And we can kind of look at this function type here, but if you see this get transaction, base 58, JSON, base 64, JSON parsed. Like there's a whole ton of things, and all of these things have different kind of complex return types. So return type here is this fella. So it even has a conditional. So if max supported transaction version extends void, so if it's not set, then it's going to be a record string of never. So this will never happen in JSON parsed. That's at least how I interpret it. Otherwise, version is set to this. Oh, and by the way, metadata of the transaction is this. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be transaction parsed with or without transaction address lookup tables. And then you'll be like, okay, but you can clearly just take this transaction JSON parsed. The thing is, this one is not exported. So, ready layer one, my friend. Good to see you here, brother. Watching the stream and writing issues after. I love it. Yes, please write the issues, create issues from what we see. Don't automatically create PRs because, as you know, I kind of have an opinion on how things should or might be fixed. But yes, please take notes. Highly appreciate it, sir. Highly appreciate it if you take notes of what we do and what we need to be done. But yeah, this type transaction JSON parsed is not exported, so we cannot really use this. Now, there's a few ways around this, and I might actually start trying to be creative to get this fixed the right way. But for now, this use get transaction, this is what we'll be using. And because I'm not in the mode of making it right, I'm going to be accepting this thing. Now, what I also want to figure out is where am I going to do the loading? So this transaction page loads, and we have this back button working. So that's all good. So up until now, everything's kind of nice and sweet, and things don't really mess up. Now, what I'm doing here in the portfolio TX, I'm just taking the signature. I'm assuming here that this is right. But if I stop doing the assumption, this is no longer right. In addition, what's also not right is that get transaction here takes a signature type string. It's not how I want to do it. So what I'm going to do for the Explorer, I'm actually going to go to Explorer source. I'm going to create a bunch of custom hooks here. And this is not permanent, but this should transition into a better world. So I'm going to say use Explorer get transaction.ts export function use Explorer get transaction. And what this thing takes in as an argument is basically almost this, except we want a hard code, or we want a strictly typed signature here. So we're going to take strict signature from Kit and our network from our network. And then one of the things I already know we want to do is we want to get a Solana client. So this is all good. This doesn't need to change. The other thing that we want to do is say, we want to return a use query. We want to only enable this query if the signature is valid. Now, this actually is no longer needed because we figured this out higher up. And the fact that we're passing in a signature right here makes it so that we shouldn't be able to call this function, this hook, when there's no valid signature. So we're going to assume that the world is perfect, which we all know is not. But that's kind of beyond of the program here. Yeah, use this import type, fine. Now, what I'm also interested in doing, let's prefix this with Explorer. Explorer get transaction, just so it's the name of the hook itself, just so that this Explorer cache doesn't clash with the other one. And I'm going to rip out this function. And I'm going to say async function get transaction, and I'm going to pass in our Solana client and our signature. Again, this is probably very temporary, but I want to be able to say, you know, my export type Explorer get transaction result is, and then I want to do the return type of, I guess it's a weighted return type of get transaction. Now let's see what this gives us. This gives us actually a type that we can fairly surely assume has the info that we need. Now, I'm not claiming this is correct. Transactions in Solana have a wide variety of possible things that on how they could be shaped, but at least this gives us something where we can say, yes, this is a type that represents whatever this function here returns. So I'm going to remove the braces here. I'm not going to do anything else. So we're going to say Explorer get transaction result. So this is now nice and sweet. We have our own little hook. So let's actually fetch this data. So in the portfolio TX, we say portfolio UI TX details. Now I actually want this to be a feature. So we have this called Explore feature TX. If we look at it, we have Explore account. Then we have account overview, which takes a network and address and fetches data. We have account redirect, which you can ignore. We have account transaction, which takes address, base path, network, and does the query. So with that in line, we're going to create a feature, and we're going to call it almost similar to this, but we're going to say Explorer feature TX details. Now, what this takes is a network, the base path, and the signature, which we know now is a signature, and signature. And we're going to call this brother here. Now we're going to add in base path, we're going to add in network, and we're going to add signature. So the nice thing is here, and for now, I'm just going to return whatever I had in there. So it should visually be very much the same, but it does give us a momentum. Let's get rid of this from. It does give us a momentum where we say, okay, here we know the signature is verified. We have this thing. We don't care about the back button because that's handled here in the Explore feature TX. So it's basically a nice separation of concerns. And in terms of reusability, you could see a world where we use this little small Explore feature TX details feature or component in some other place where we know network and signature to be true and where we have maybe a separate base path. Beautiful. So inside this one, we're going to use the hook that I just created. So we're going to go back and say, use Explorer, get transactions. This hook is the one that we want. And this should fold in very neatly. So we're going to say query here is this one, where we're going to pass in the network and the signature. Now, as I say, this folds in very nicely. Let's underscore this one, so just so that it cannot be underscored. Let's get rid of it here. We want to do some loading states. So if we look inside here, we have a spinner. Sure. So let's do if query is loading, we show a spinner. So this, if we now refresh, it should show the spinner and then fetch the thing. Beauty. We can get rid of the signature. We know this works. So we can say query.data and fetch data. Amazing. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, this is the instruction that we want to show. And if we look in the feature TX here, we have an error message. Now, I have an Explorer error message, but it would be kind of nice to actually be able to trigger an error so we can get we can see if it works. And I know that if we get rid of these two things, then we'll trigger an error again. And I'm pretty sure that Reshav is the one that fixed it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Reshav is the one that actually submitted a pull request, fixed this particular issue. This recently got fixed by a person from the ecosystem. So this should take like 4 iterations, and now it's kind of like dead. We don't know what happened. So if we go back to the TX details and see where we use this, we see, hey, we have this Explorer UI error page, and we're going to leverage this one to basically show this error. So here in the details, where we're going to say if query.isError is error, I want to show a Explorer UI error page. And what I want to do here is not say invalid signature. I want to say error fetching transaction, right? Error getting transaction. And the actual error that we're going to show here is going to be query.error error.message or unknown error. Now, this should tell us something like max version, etc., etc. There you go. Transaction version is not supported by the requesting client. Please try the request again with the following configuration parameter. Great. This is progress, and this is kind of what we're after. Also, if we go back to our browser, let me click this one away. We go back to our browser and invalidate this one. We see invalid signature. Now, I kind of don't like how this error message is contained within the card, but for now, I'm not going to obsess over that. There's a lot of UI things that we want to improve and change. And I do think it's nice to have like a localized error. But yeah, this is something that we might fix down the line. At least for now, we have error handling, which is better than no error handling. Also, this message, it may not need, I think the message here is already handled. It's not. Okay, it's good as it is. So let's actually fix our function here because we do need these lines. This is exactly the reason why this got added. So great, we do error handling. And I broke this just for the sake of example, I think. Why is this not signature? I broke this for sake of example. Let's not break existing code. Now, this one, portfolio UI TX details, this is now fairly similar, but it's going to be Explorer. So let's actually copy this file, and we can do now a better job. Now that we better understand the needs, we can say, okay, Explorer UI TX details. So we have a feature TX details, which calls in the UI TX details. This is the classic dump component, smart component differentiator. So I'm going to say all of these ones should be living here and should be portfolio Explorer UI TX detail row. This timestamp already exists, so that's great. So we can say Explorer UI TX timestamp, Explorer UI TX detail row. Now I know I made another detail row, Explorer UI detail row. So it's just leaving out the TX. Explorer UI detail row. So I'm just going to call this Explorer UI detail row. Really beautiful. What's next? Get TX status. So what did we have here? Get TX status. This will basically figure out what is the TX status. Now I'm pretty sure this is only used at one place, sure. So it shouldn't be an external function. It probably just wants to sit here by itself, and we don't even export it. So we don't need this thing to be this TX status. Now this transaction data comes from the old use get transaction, but this is not what we want to use. We actually want to use the type that I exported here. Nope. Exported here. Explorer get transaction result. So this little fella here should take TX is Explorer get transaction results. And now I need to figure out, I think this is tx.value. Tx.meta dot status. Okay. Some null assumptions here. Now, actually curious how this is then properly typed. So we say meta here, and now this is something that happens with Git a lot, these complex types. I'm not saying this is great, but it is what we're dealing with here. So JSON, I want to say meta, transaction meta, and I want to know the status here. So status is transaction status, which is either okay or it's an error. So I am going to go ahead and make a type assumption here. So if not, tx.meta.status return null. Otherwise, now these ones can go. If this exists, we know it is transaction status. And this may come from Git. And it is deprecated here in Git. Interesting. Deprecated. Okay, it's deprecated. It does not come with an alternative. Love it. Okay. I'm going to add a to-do here and say to-do fix typing here. Transaction status is deprecated. Now, does this work? Does not even work. How about we do it like so, where we say export type is this, and then get rid of transaction status right here. Does this work? Like it's either error or it's null. So status, const status is tx.meta.status. We know we have this one as that one. Right, and now what status is a transaction status. And now we should be able to just say status.ok. Now this doesn't work, and I'm confused on why. Okay. I'm confused as to why this is. Let's for now leave it for a second. Let's move on with more interesting things. Get TX status right now. This just gets the TX. So in order to do this, we're going to say this one is also Explorer get transaction result. Now this makes it mad right here because Explorer TX result, it may be null. This is something we're not really accounting for. We want to get rid, because like clearly a signature cannot be found on a cluster. For instance, if I have a valid signature, but it's not on this cluster, and I look at it from a different cluster, it will not work. So, 1 second, please. Let me actually go into here. So yeah, this is possibly undefined. Now, all of these things are stuff that I need to figure out with the team at ANSA. Particularly high hopes that Callum from the ANSA team can kind of figure out how to properly type these things. So I'm going to actually add a note here, figure out how to properly type this. I want to be able to determine the type if it succeeds. I want to have a return type for a found transaction that I can use to build my UI. Like they must have thought about this and they must have an answer to this. And what I'm doing here is kind of clumsy, but it goes in line with how I aim to write software. I'm going to make it work first. So I'm going to do the workarounds. I'm going to do the dirty work, and then we'll see what it actually takes. So part of the dirty work right now is here to say, hey, if there's no TX, just return null. Like we know there is TX because otherwise it will not show. Now, Explore UI, Explorer button. We do have something with an Explorer icon and Explorer link. So let's do an Explorer icon here. This is actually something I already fixed. So I have an Explore UI Explorers, which takes an array of Explorers, which is exactly what we want to do right here. This takes in the network and it takes in the path. Beautiful. So yeah, I did some groundwork already. And this makes 5 lines go back to a single one. Great. We have one more typing error, which is this, which is going to be TS expect error. Figure out how to properly type this. It's going to go back to the same thing. Now, besides directly typing all of this, I also think we could use a bunch of higher level function so that we don't have to do this while building out our UI always, all the time. So with this one right here, you should be able to go to my Explore feature get rid of this ugly thing and say this one, network is network, tx is query.data, and signature is the signature slash. And there we go. Would you look at that? So now we actually go into Alice, look at a transaction and see the transaction. And we can look at the same one on Explorer, SolScan. This one doesn't load actually in the right one. They all load in Solana Explorer. So let's fix that one. And this one is not happy because undefined is not assignable. Okay, let's make another case. If not query.data, let's actually whack that in the same one. If query.error, or we don't have query.data, show this error message. And that should get rid of the undefined right here. And now we may have an unknown error or not. Beautiful. I love how this is coming together. This one's really clean. We don't have any type assertions right here, at least at a glance. We do have a bunch of errors, things that we expect, but I'm going to say this will never happen. Which is not true. I'm just going to say this is going to be unknown, so I don't have to import this directly from there. Or can I get this from Kit? I can. So, okay, I'm actually happy with that. I can actually get that from Kit. I'm happy with this for now. Make it work. So why is provider not passed in here? So provider should be passed in here. And I think Solana Explorer, SolScan, ORB. Get the URL and get the name. So let's actually print these things and say JSON.stringify name and href. Okay, here, this is wrong. Get Explorer URL. This one gets the base provider URL. I think this one then is confused. Yep, it is confused. And the provider and the URL. Provider right here is Solana. So provider here is Solana, which is the default. How about we don't give it a default and we just ask it always, where does it fail? Invalid provider, get Explorer URL. Okay, let's not go this route right now. Props. How about we hardcode these props? So get Explorer URL, network path and provider. So network path is props.path. Provider is provider. So Explorer provider is required here, but not there. Okay, so how about I do it like so? Let's leave this as I had it. Let's try to make TypeScript work for me and say, you know, omit the optional provider here and make provider required. Now, this doesn't really fix the thing, because the point is I'm not passing it in here. I hope you guys follow along what's happening here. If I pass it in right here, it will work. Now we see ORB, SolScan, and Helios. But if I do this just here, it'll happily swallow it because I'm not fixing this properly. So this thing shouldn't assume anything. I'm going to have to create an issue to update get Explorer URL, and I'm going to do it inline to do create issue to make provider a required property of get Explorer URL, because this is actually the root cause. Like, my typing system didn't help me, didn't prevent me from making this mistake, this gross mistake. This also doesn't help me because it should have been required in the first place. So I did override it right here, thinking that that would fix it, but I didn't fix it properly right here. So for now, to fix this component locally, which I can fairly simple do in this pull request, which I'm happy to, this will now work. And then we can say, okay, this loads in an orb, verify I'm a human, fairly sure I still am. Let's see if I can. This will launch the transaction right here, 17 days ago. This will do it in SolScan, 17 days ago. And the last one will do it in Solana Explorer. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, I love it. So that's beautiful. That's really good. Looking at it right now, I feel like this can be smaller. So class name here, let's say text XS. Class name here doesn't get passed along. Okay, let's do it right here. Class name text XS. Did that have any effect? Oh, it's already text XS. Let's do it a ridiculously small size, 9 pixels. Yeah, we probably want to change this, but not something I'm going to do right now. But there we are. We loaded in the transactions in the Explorer. So we didn't, I don't think we did any type assumptions right here, except for, I guess, except for this one. But then do I need all of this? Do I need all of this? Can I just say if a transaction doesn't have this? Yep. So now I don't need this one. Now I don't need this one. So already doing a bit of cleanup here. And yeah, beautiful. So this now works as expected. And I'm fairly happy with the change so far. So let's see. Let's do a partial commit and just go over what we've done. So in the Explorer, in the feature account transaction list, so if we go to Alice here and we go to the transaction list here, now we pass along where do we come from. So we say from account/address. It's a relative thing. I don't prefix this with a slash, and we'll see why in a second. Now, this is the Explorer feature, and the imports are hardly ever interesting. But in the Explorer feature TX, which is this path right now, we updated it. So we take in the base path and the network. We'll see why in a second if we look at the router. And we fetch the location data from React Router. And this is so that we can make this assumption right here, where we say, okay, we want to fetch the from state, the one that we're passing in on this link. And if we have a from state, prefix this with the base path with this slash. And this is why I like doing it. So we have a clear separation and then suffix it with the from state. If we don't have a from state, our back path, our back button needs to link back to this page, /explorer for now. And once this thing lives separately, it'll be the root. Beautiful. Now, we got rid of the empty state and we just say, hey, this is a card. And we're going to say the back button to whatever we just decided on. The title is going to be transaction. Like this may change, but whatever. For now, great. And then inside, we have this Explorer feature TX details. Now, one of the things I already see from looking at it right now is this Explorer feature TX details. It actually has a border here. So let's see what happens if we get rid of the border. This is already way cleaner, if you ask me. It's a small, tiny detail, but it's actually cleaner. And let's get rid of all of the styling here and see how it drops down. Okay, this is ugly, so we need some of these. But I think the padding, not needed. Agree? Agree. I think we all agree. Rounded is not needed because we don't have a corner. Space X Why 5? Like, why would you use a 5? Either use 4 or use 6. We're not going to use odd numbers here unless you really have to. Personal preference. I don't like it. And yeah, I think all of this for now is good enough. I could see it, and okay, let me actually say what I want to say. I could see usefulness in having the fee payer being a separate entity and actually being able to click back to this fee payer. But for now, I think I'm going to leave this as is. That's kind of a nice separate thing, being able to cross-link across these things in the Explorer. Because similarly to how you go to the Alice page and click on a transaction here, it would be cool if you can actually click back to this fee payer and get back to their page in general. I'm not going to fix that right now. And the other thing that would be kind of nice here is ellipsifying these ones. So you just see a short and sweet one. And actually another nice thing is having these copy buttons that you can just copy this, but not going to sweat about that for now. So we actually cleaned it up a little bit. So do another partial commit. And this is what we just said yes to. Now, here's the routes that I just mentioned. We now pass in the base path and the network because we need that to fetch the data and correctly route. And here, change some typing. Explore UI, get Explore UI to props. Explore UI link. Like, why did this change? It shouldn't change. This should just be biome. Let me quickly style fix. Lint fix, I guess. There you go. Let's do another partial commit. Okay, cool. This is the issue that we found where we weren't linking to the right explorers. This is an update to the transaction link, which now sends a from, and then importing, formatting, doesn't really matter. I create this issue. So this is what I'm going to go review this pull request. Afterwards, I will find this and I will create the issue and probably create a quick fix for it. And then I'm left with 3 new files that I'm just going to add to this commit. Amazing. So what I'm going to do here is say feature explorer. And I'm going to say implement explorer feature TX. So this is the page that we're implementing. And this is going to be pushed up to GitHub. And I'll do it right away with all of you guys so we can just see what I tend to do here. It's nothing huge, obviously. It's creating a pull request, but you might learn something. Always good. Implement Explore feature TX. Sure. I'm going to empty this one, and you'll see why in a second, because we have this great bot in our repo configured, which is called Ellipsis. And you'll see Ellipsis is now actually checking our pull request. I'm going to copy this ID. Here you go. It's already updated. So it did a quick summary of what happened, what actually happened here. And this is amazing. Like, even like this to do. I just love this. What I'm also going to do is update this pull request. I like to link up this work. It's in separate focused PRs. This is one of the requirements. We like to work in small pull requests, not in big ones. I'm going to link up this one. And then explore feature TX. It should be implemented. What's currently in portfolio feature TX. Sure. Like the next one, ensure linking portfolio links to the new route. This is the place where I'm going to clean up the other one. And we can kind of do a preview of this, but once I'm going to get rid of the portfolio one, let's quickly do it without committing it. So portfolio feature TX, this one is not going to exist anymore. So let's rapid fire and get rid of this. So that's here. Now you'll see my editor says, okay, this is no longer being in use, which then if we go back here and we save this will no longer be in use. Now you also see why you want to use actually a strong editor, not something like VS Code. Sorry for everybody that likes it. It's just not a very good editor. I'm gonna open up these files. And now if I save this, you'll see, hey, this one's no longer being used. This one's no longer being used. This one is used in create token. Okay, good. So we should go tools, feature, create token. This portfolio UI Explorer button, we actually now want to link it to the Explorer, because in the Explorer is where we want to have the buttons and not so randomly in the portfolio. So yeah, there will still be a dependency, but it will be way less. The UI TX timestamp, this is in get activity. Sure, this is in the activity page here, this timestamp. This one should also link from Explorer instead of having this all embedded inside this thing. So it'll be a bit of a revamp. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to do this right now. I'm just going to leave it as is. It doesn't belong in this pull request during the cleanup. But we will be able to, oh, let me switch that back. And like so, sorry. We will be able to clean up a bunch of these things, which will just be a better separation of concerns. So it will just be more clean, where the portfolio actually imports components from the Explorer, and then the portfolio gets slimmer, and features actually about exploring and viewing transactions go to the place where they belong. Now, this one is the first one that we should probably tackle, which is this TX link. So this should have then a state property where we say from is from, which we're going to pass in here from as a string. Sure. And we're going to say, okay, from. Now, where are you? You are at portfolio/address. I'm fairly sure that this is where we are. Probably not. Beautiful. So let's repass from in here and say from. Actually, you're going to say from. I'm going to pass it in here. Prop drilling. Now we can say from. Now we say, okay, we're in this account. So we can say, hey, from. You are in /portfolio/account. Well, props.account.address. Public key even. And now we should, if we click this one, we should now be taken to the Explorer. Is that true? Nope, this is still coming from here. Let's refresh. Click this one. Nope. Okay, interesting. Tap activity from. Sure. Let's go here and say, let's just print the from. Should say portfolio Alice. Okay, that's correct. That is where we are at, right? And actually, we may do an easier job. We're not at portfolio Alice, we're at portfolio activity. Okay, so if I now click this one and I click back, I go back to portfolio activity. But I'm not, I'm in portfolio TX. So, okay, yes, I know what we're doing wrong. So this one here, so this one is just gonna be portfolio/activity. Now this by itself is something to figure out if this is what we want, activity. But for this issue that I created, I don't think it's interesting to change that because it's kind of unrelated. So from here is where we're actually from. Sure. And this can be read from the router. Shouldn't have to hard code this, but again, let's make it work first. Then we're going to say TX link from, sure. But where you want to go to, this now is actually Explorer/TX/signature. And now we're going to go here bam, land to the Explorer load and land back. Now this didn't work because we have a double slash here. Why is that? Because I told you all that I don't like this prefixing slash. So one more time, gonna go here to activity, click here, click back. Still not working. Why? Because base path. Okay. So that means that I'm actually introducing a bug. So let's go here back to Explorer and say const from. Now, if from starts with a slash, I don't want to add the base path. If it doesn't start with a slash, I do want to add the base path. So I'm going to do something dirty here, which is kind of double ternary. Let's say how about we do it like this? If we have from, otherwise it's going to be base path. Then we're going to say if from dot starts with a slash, just return from, and otherwise base path from. And then this one should be able to say activity. And then here I will say base path with a slash. So now I'm redirected to an absolute URL, and otherwise it's a relative one. So I'm going to go here, go to the Explorer, go back, sure. And then if I go to the actual Explorer, search for the transaction, search back, sure. If I go to the page for Alice, search back, sure. Great. So just by figuring out what is the next thing that I want to go doing here, I already found an issue in this implementation, and I didn't even review it. Now, if this ellipsis will not figure this out. Ellipsis doesn't know what I want to do next. It's not smart enough to figure this out. So this is just something that I'm going to do amending to my other work. I'm going to leave these ones unchanged. I will be able to figure this out at a different point. TypeScript needs to catch up here, but this all is good as is. And I'm going to amend this, force push it to the same branch. And for now, I think that'll be it. This will be a great place to end the show. Now it will actually start analyzing this. So you see these eyes again. It will analyze this and it will figure out if it needs to update this thing. So it actually updated the text, and you can just see the difference that it made here by seeing edited now. Most recently, it format and display transaction. Yeah, so it tends to change things every time it looks at this. It's a really useful tool. It doesn't always have the exact issues. It sometimes says stuff that it shouldn't, where it's just wrong, as AIs do. But yeah, all in all, I'm really happy with how this is turning out. So my next, the next thing to do here, I'm actually going to create an issue, a separate pull request, just to fix this to do, this one. But this is my next thing. I'm going to do this off camera, but I will create a pull request for this one, fix it, get it merged, so that this then doesn't need to exist in the pull request, and this one as well. And yeah, let's quickly go back here. So we did do the Explorer feature TX. We figured out how to do the existing portfolio activity, and this will do the cleanup in the routes, create a follow-up issue with more advanced features. So I want to be able to say in the Explorer, you should be able to override the selected cluster. So if you go to Explorer and find Alice, and you want to check Alice on like testnet, you should be able to say question mark cluster equals testnet. Very much syntactically similar to other Explorers. And yeah, this is something for another time. I might do a stream tomorrow or on Monday. I'm not going to commit to these things because I'm also trying to have a life. But yeah, this is kind of a next best thing. In the future, we may deploy the Explorer as a separate app, but this is out of scope here. So that's it for now. Thanks everybody for watching. I enjoyed that I had a few people here. I see, for instance, Ryan CA, hi, and Ready Layer 1, who says, yes, force push gang. There's only two types of people that commit, those that force push or those that like a messy, messy history. I know what I prefer. And awesome. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to end the stream right here. I hope you all have a great rest of the day.